Story 1. My useless superpower is that whenever someone asks me to take a look at their broken computer peripheral, such as a printer or scanner, it will immediately start working as I approach it. Story 2. I am invisible to birds. I've been flapped in the face by low-flying birds several times. Once, when eating in a park, a bird walked over my legs like I wasn't even there to peck at my fries. I am invisible to birds. Story 3. I can echolocate. I am totally blind, have been all my life, but can detect how sound bounces off objects. And this helps me navigate and know more about the environment I am in. Story 4. I am able to memorize routes and remember how to get to a place even if I have only been to that city once. And I don't even have to concentrate. My brain remembers it. Currently, it is a bit useless because there is Google Maps or similar applications, although at least I don't need to use my mobile to repeat a route that I have already taken. A few months ago, I was working as an Uber driver in Madrid and, although I already knew the city as a pedestrian, now I know it as a driver and I perceive it to be smaller than before. Story 5. It doesn't matter if a street is completely empty in all directions and hasn't been driven on in 50 years. If I step into a crosswalk, a car is going to pull up to the stop sign and make me feel rushed. Story 6. I can say the alphabet in almost any order you like, within reason. Example, say the alphabet, but go by every third letter, and then recite all the ones you skipped in reverse order. The longer and more obtuse the request, the longer it will take, but in that example, I could do it in less than 3 minutes. Story 7. Babies and toddlers are obsessed with me. They stare at me and follow me with their eyes on buses, trains, in malls. It doesn't matter. I have really big round blue eyes, and 2 different people have said that kids like me because I look like a cartoon. Story 8. I am really good at estimating volume. Like you want 50 grams of cheese? A 6-ounce steak? Pour a beer into 2 glasses without going back and forth? I can eyeball it with alarming accuracy. Story 9. Unfortunately, I have a much higher likelihood of losing immunity to diseases after being vaccinated. I am 30, and on 3 separate occasions, I have had to be revaccinated for varicella, polio, and anthrax. Story 10. If I forget to put something small into the dryer, like a sock or the fabric sheet, I can quickly open the door to the dryer, throw the item in, and close it without the dryer turning off. Story 11. Being open to being incorrect. Loads of people seem to not have this ability. They do some pretty rotten things because of it. Admittedly, it's not that helpful to me. My awareness of my lack of knowledge appears to be a hiccup in getting folks to take me seriously. It seems people don't want to hear from the meek. They want to hear from the confident, even if they could be incorrect. Story 12. I always seem to know the time if I haven't looked at the clock for a while. I'll just judge the time passed, and I'm either spot on or 2 to 3 minutes off. It helps with absolutely nothing, but it's cool. Also, conversions. I usually make up a number for conversions, and I'm always very close. Story 13. My heart is too good. I can't hurt anyone purposely. It will break my heart. I once really thought it was a great thing that I had to forgive and to love so easily, but it's a curse. I always thought since forever that if I do this or that right, things might change, and I might really feel happiness and escape this reality of a lifetime of sadness, but it just never happens. I've been hanging on for a while now, and my heart just seems really useless. Story 14 has proven to be quite useful. No matter how drunk I am, I simply cannot vomit. My weakness is that I don't get the immediate relief from vomiting the alcohol from my system. I have to endure the nausea roller coaster until I'm sober. Story 15. I'm a moderately heavy black coffee drinker, downing a liter in the morning before 9 a.m. every day. Yet I can get up in the morning, go traveling somewhere for a week, and skip it entirely without noticing. Story 16. I'm hyperlexic and have synesthesia. I'm also pitch perfect. While this sounds amazing, I cannot use this to my advantage. I'm not going to get a job at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration because I can read super fast and hear colors. Oh, I'm also autistic. That too. Story 17. I am able to perfectly plan out plans such as we can go here, by then it will be a certain amount of time, and we can go here after which will be on time for a certain activity. Whenever I leave my house, I have everything planned to the minute. I do not know how, but it always works out. Story 18. My useless superpower is when someone is upset at work, whether it's a customer or an employee. The moment I speak with the person, they calm down and vent to me. My friends tell me I'm just a teddy bear. Story 19. Anytime something goes wrong, I immediately, without hesitation, know what action I took or avoided that led to the outcome. It only works after the event. I am hindsight. Story 20. I can't keep living with so little time for sleep and no food. I remember times when I slept 2 hours a day for an entire week while I didn't eat anything during my first year of university. Story 21. I can stand by a computer not working and make it work again. I don't do anything, I just stand next to the computer and person on it, and within a minute everything is fine. Now, I know the truth is my coworkers are working off old laptops that like to freeze when they're asking it to do too much at once, and my presence is a mere placebo effect. But it's made me well known around my office and has given me an opportunity to talk to others and move my way up the chain a little, so I guess it kind of works out. My true useless superpower is that 70% of the time I can avoid big crowds and long lines. I told my now wife when we were dating about it, mostly jokingly because I noticed it happen a few times, but all these years later she swears by it and points it out every time. I'm starting to think it's real. Story 22. I have a pretty good memory of XKCD, Saturday morning breakfast cereal, and abstruse goose comics, as well as gangster rap lines and reference thematically relevant ones in chat or real-life conversations. I wish I could fill those memory slots with more useful information. Story 23. I have this superpower where if one molecule of a person or an article of clothing or something they're holding comes within a certain proximity of my stuff, I become blind to it. Story 24. Being my own individual in a world full of people that only care about popular opinion. Being able to do research myself instead of just relying on what the headlines say. Not being naive enough to fall into extreme left or right politics and having the common sense to sort issues out. Nowadays, it seems useless, but I would say it's not useless at all. Story 25. I remember the tiniest useless details. I will remember the song that was playing when someone told me that one thing one time, but I will immediately forget important instructions I'm told the second I turn my back. I will remember the birthday of my friend's mother I've never met, but forget whether I've had dinner or not. Story 26. I can set a timer on an oven or microwave and will almost without fail get up and walk to the appliance with it having less than 10 seconds on the clock. Story 27. I can twist my leg 180 degrees, bend my thumb at a 90-degree angle, control one section of my upper lip to reveal a canine, pop my shoulder out of the socket willingly, and I guess being able to learn a skill in like 2 weeks. Story 28. I can count back anything repetitive. Say hi a random amount of times and I can then count back how many times you said it. Can be with anything, any noise, words, or whatever, as long as it's said by a person with intonation. Story 29. I am really good at estimating or guessing specific numbers, but only for things that usually do not help anyone. For example, the exact time or the calories in a food. Story 30. After I have been to a place 2 or 3 times, I am usually able to get there from memory without a global positioning system. Also, I can wander the roads in my car, and whenever I have to do something, I immediately know how to get to that place from wherever I am. Story 31. I listen to a song and can recognize from which part of which decade it came out. I can do the same thing with Michael Jackson's pictures. Yeah, pretty useless. Story 32. I can memorize song lyrics insanely quickly. On average, it takes 1 listen if I'm reading the lyrics while listening, 3 listens without looking at the lyrics. Story 33. I am invisible to birds. I've been flapped in the face by low-flying birds several times. Once, when eating in a park, a bird walked over my legs like I wasn't even there to peck at my fries. I am invisible to birds. Story 34. I can fold a standard sheet of paper into thirds with very little overlap, such that it fits perfectly into a business envelope. A former Japanese boss of mine would sometimes ask me to fold important letters for him for aesthetic reasons. Story 35. Might not be useless, I'm not sure, but as a ski instructor, every problem with a ski, I approach it like a jamming Kalashnikov. Give the ski a good slap, jerk the back piece like the charging handle, and it works no matter the problem. Story 36. I only get my period at convenient times. Never on my birthday, never on Christmas, never on vacations, never when I'm at the beach. Always when I'm home and doing nothing for the week. Story 37. Get a glass, put some ice in it, and pour the soda over the ice. Notice there is always a little bit left in the can. I can always guess just right when the glass can fit the rest. Story 38. I know the most random facts about things. King Henry VIII had a sex chair, wombats poop square, we have mites in and on our eyebrows and eyelashes. It's just information I've learned over the years. Story 39. I can count the letters in a sentence as you're talking, and I do it regularly to calm down. So if you said, "Hello, nice to see you," I see the words in my head and can very quickly see it's 17 letters. Completely useless, but kids enjoy testing me, and it can be a fun game with them. Story 40. What are some examples of useless superpowers that could still be fun? Useless superpowers can be a hilarious topic. For instance, imagine having the ability to always know the exact number of jelly beans in a jar but never being able to eat them. What are some other quirky superpowers that might not have practical use but could lead to some entertaining situations? Let's share some creative ideas. Story 41. I know the make and model of almost every car on the road. I'm a woman who knows nothing else about cars, so don't ask me about anything further. But I can tell you the make and model of the majority of cars in the United States just by their headlights, even in the dark. In television shows, if they have removed the decals, I can still tell you what kind of car it is. I have zero interest in cars. I have no clue why I retain this information. Story 42. If I'm in a sufficiently crowded room and decide on a girl to hit on, there is an 80% chance she's a science, technology, engineering, or mathematics major. The last 3 girls I hit on were a mechanical engineer, an epidemiologist, and a university math instructor. Story 43. I hate spoken languages, don't socialize often due to my autism spectrum disorder, and only know English, but I can write numerous programming languages to a high standard and learn new ones at a disproportionate rate compared to anyone I've ever met and other things I try and learn. I have worked in the software development and engineering industry for 20 years. Story 44. I can sense or taste changes in the weather before it hits. I grew up in the Canadian woods, and I would frequently go hiking on my own. I somehow developed the sense to let me know when to head home or when to take shelter if I was too far out to make it home. I'm from Generation X, so this was way before relying on your phone for weather reports. It's hard to describe, but I feel it in the blood vessels of my neck, and I get a metallic taste on the sides of my tongue, like smelling old pennies. There's also a dropping sensation in my head and neck, like when riding an elevator. I'm sure there's some scientific explanation about barometric pressure, ozone, or humidity causing these sensations. It does come in handy. I always know when to take the laundry off the line and put up the car windows before it rains. The sky will be clear, but I'll say to my husband, "The air just changed." 30 minutes later, I'll see the clouds gathering in the west. Story 45. Whenever someone near me says they feel unwell, like having a headache or nausea, I instantly start experiencing the exact same symptoms. Superpower. Story 46. Social invisibility. I tend to disappear from people's perception until they remember I exist, which means I can circle them for minutes before that happens. Then they freak out because they feel I've teleported next to them when they remember. Story 47. If I've driven a road that has major backups or congestion just once, I can determine which lane will always move the fastest the next time I drive that road. I can determine the pattern of slower drivers and where they will be slowest and which lane is slowest for the next time I drive that route. I know exactly when to switch lanes to get me to my destination faster by my second trip. Story 48. I have really good hearing, most likely because I have autism. At first glance, you might think that this is really useful, but when you're in a classroom and can hear each individual pencil writing, the vents, and sometimes the lights buzzing, it starts getting annoying very quickly. Story 49. I can lucid dream, and I can continue previous dreams if I really want to. Downsides. I'm too lazy to actually turn them into stories, but I've written the very interesting ones down. Having a nightmare is more terrifying because it feels more real. Besides, romantic dreams are great. I don't usually forget dreams, so I have time to write them down. Story 50. I can touch my thumb to my forearm. At one point, I could touch and even link my fingers behind my back, one arm behind my head and the other twisted behind me, but my shoulders are shot now. Story 51. Both of my eyes are on command lazy eyes. It's bad for my eyes and it's really useless. I guess I do impress or freak people out with it. I can't go cross-eyed because I can only control one at a time for some reason. Story 52. Every time I want to cross an intersection, regardless of what time it is, suddenly traffic appears. A stupidly high amount of people want to cross exactly with me from all directions. Am I in a hurry? In the middle of the city, a tractor appears. Story 53. I can remember an awful lot of things from long ago about people with whom I've had long-term friendships. I can remember some things about people who I do not know all that long. Stuff that can actually seem stalker-like if not handled in the right way. I've memorized a 26-character code that I use to create passwords every 3 months that would be hard to crack. Even if I was under duress to give my password to a colleague tomorrow, the next password I generate would have no similarity to the one I handed over. But ask me to create a for loop from scratch? Each and every time, I have to get on Stack Overflow quicker than Amber Heard's tears. Memory is a challenge, man.